The message that echoes today is clear: the reality we live in is crying out for our attention. The world is going through an unprecedented transformation, and many of the prophets and apostles already predicted this. While some remain oblivious to the signs, those who know Jesus Christ feel, in their souls, an urgent call to wake up. We are approaching the fulfillment of the book of Revelation, and this feeling is not just a fleeting restlessness but a divine call that intensifies every day. Morality is degrading, wars and disasters surround the nations, and the sense of chaos is palpable. Have you stopped to reflect on what is really happening around us? What are the signs telling us? Jesus warned us about the signs of the times, and the urgency is real. What is unfolding before us is not mere coincidence. It is a prophetic pattern coming to pass, and we need to be alert. What does this mean for us as Christians? Vigilance is more than necessary, it is essential. What are you doing to prepare for what is to come? The answer to these questions may be the key to understanding the days we live in. Global changes and signs of the times. In recent years, we have seen an alarming increase in the number of wars and conflicts around the world. Conflicts that once seemed distant are now closer than ever, affecting the lives of millions. The news continues to bombard us with images of destruction and suffering, leading many to reflect on what this means for the future of humanity. It is as if the world is giving clear signs that something greater is at stake, something that alludes to deeper questions about our collective destiny. In addition to wars, natural disasters have become more frequent and intense. Hurricanes, earthquakes, and floods seem to arise at a frantic pace, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. Many people believe that these catastrophes are not just coincidences but warnings that difficult times lie ahead. It is a call to action, a reminder that we must pay attention to the signs and prepare for what is coming. Social crises also cannot be ignored. The rise in inequality, popular discontent, and social movements in search of justice are evidence that society is in a state of tension. There is a cry for change, a search for something that makes sense amid the chaos. Many people see this as a sign that the biblical story is unfolding before our eyes, and what is to come may be far more significant than we imagine. In this context, reflecting on the times we live in becomes a necessity. People begin to question, are we really prepared to face what is to come? What does all this mean for our spiritual and moral lives? The sense of urgency grows as the signs become more evident, and the search for answers intensifies. After all, what can we do to protect ourselves and prepare for the changes that are approaching? So, we cannot forget the importance of looking to the future with a critical perspective. Global changes are not just a passing phenomenon, they are part of something bigger. And understanding this context can give us an advantage when it comes to charting our paths and decisions. History has shown that times of crisis can also be opportunities for renewal and growth. Therefore, the main question is, how can we prepare for these uncertain times that are approaching? Biblical prophecies and their fulfillment. When we talk about biblical prophecies, it is impossible not to think of the book of Revelation. This often enigmatic text brings visions that, for many, are being fulfilled in our days. The interpretation of these prophecies varies, but one thing is certain: many believe we are living in a period of prophetic fulfillment. The descriptions of catastrophes, wars, and a world in conflict echo in the news we read daily. The fulfillment of prophecies also sparks a wave of debate among theologians and scholars. Some see the present as confirmation that the scriptures are true, while others question the literalness of certain events. But regardless of the position one takes, it is undeniable that the discussion on the subject has gained strength, especially in times of crisis. People are searching for answers, and often the scriptures offer a sense of hope amid despair. Furthermore, biblical prophecies often speak of a time of judgment and restoration. This duality is intriguing and provokes reflection. What happens when a world strays from its principles? What can we expect from future generations? These questions are on the minds of many, leading to an increased interest in spiritual and eschatological themes. The search for a deeper understanding of the Scriptures has intensified among those who yearn for clarity in troubled times. The vision of a world in transformation can be frightening, but it can also be seen as an opportunity for spiritual growth. Prophecy, far from being just a grim prediction, is a call to action. It reminds us that we must remain vigilant and prepared, adjusting our paths according to the teachings we find in the Scriptures. This message of preparation is an invitation for each of us to examine our lives and make the necessary changes. The fulfillment of biblical prophecies can be a powerful motivator for personal and community transformation. Understanding these truths can lead us to a new level of spiritual commitment. As the signs of the times become clearer, the urgency to live according to these teachings becomes even more evident. The spiritual journey is not just individual but also collective, and together we can face the challenges that lie ahead. The urgency of spiritual preparation. The idea of spiritual preparation has never been more relevant than it is today. As the signs of the times become more evident, many believers feel the need to deepen their spiritual practices. It is as if an inner voice says that the time to act is now. This urgency is palpable and has led many to reassess their priorities and turn to prayer, meditation, and the study of the Scriptures. Spiritual preparation is not limited to rituals or religious practices but involves a genuine commitment to inner transformation. It is an invitation for each of us to seek a deeper relationship with God. In times of uncertainty, this connection becomes an anchor, offering security and peace amid the chaos. Many find comfort in the idea that, no matter what happens, they are rooted in their faith. Moreover, the urgency of spiritual preparation is also reflected in the need for communion with other believers. The Church, as a body, plays a fundamental role in this process. Together, the faithful can support each other, share experiences, and strengthen their faith. In a world that seems to be falling apart, unity and solidarity among believers can be a beacon of hope. The importance of community becomes even clearer as we face common challenges. Spiritual preparation, therefore, is not just an individual matter but a collective call. It is vital that believers unite in prayer and action, seeking not only their own strengthening but also the well-being of society as a whole. This sense of social responsibility aligns with Christian principles of love and compassion, reminding us that our faith must manifest itself in concrete actions in favor of others. The urgency of spiritual preparation leads us to reflect on our purpose and mission in this world. Each of us has a role to play, and being spiritually prepared is essential to fulfilling that mission. As we turn to God and seek His guidance, we can find clarity and direction in uncertain times. And so, the journey of spiritual preparation becomes an opportunity for growth and renewal, not only for ourselves but for everyone around us. Declining morality. Today, the discussion about morality in society is almost inevitable. More and more, we observe a pattern of moral decay that manifests itself in various ways, from everyday behaviors to decisions with great social impact. This reality raises important questions about what is happening to our values and principles. What was once considered right and wrong seems to be fading, leaving a sense of confusion and uncertainty. One of the most alarming aspects of this moral decay is the normalization of behaviors that were once seen as unacceptable. What was once taboo is now widely discussed and, in many cases, even celebrated. This shift in perspective can be attributed to various factors, including the influence of social media and the growing acceptance of ideas that challenge traditional standards. This new reality leads us to ask, where will this take us? Declining morality also has profound implications for society as a whole. The lack of solid values can create an environment ripe for corruption, violence, and injustice. When individuals lack a clear moral compass, the consequences can be devastating. The growing insensitivity to the suffering of others and the lack of empathy are worrying signs that we are drifting away from what truly matters, love and respect for others. Furthermore, This analysis of declining morality is not just a passive observation, it demands active reflection on the role each of us plays in building a more just society. What can we do to reverse this trend and promote values that truly make a difference? The answer may lie in education, dialogue, and example. By becoming advocates for morality based on solid principles, we can contribute to a more hopeful future. The analysis of moral decline calls us to conscious action. It is not just about lamenting the situation but about seeking ways to promote change. Each of us can be a positive force, challenging corrosive norms and defending values that elevate human dignity. Morality, far from being an abstract concept, is a daily choice that shapes our lives and the society we live in. Therefore, the time to act is now, and the responsibility is in our hands. Technology and totalitarian control. In today's world, technology is advancing rapidly, bringing with it not only innovations but also serious concerns about freedom and privacy. Artificial intelligence, AI, and biometric surveillance are becoming powerful tools, capable of monitoring and controlling the population in ways that once seemed impossible. The discussion revolves around the potential these technologies have to facilitate a global control regime, where individuality may be sacrificed in the name of security. It is a topic that provokes reflection and, of course, much discussion. The possibility of totalitarian control using technology as an ally is not mere speculation. With the mass collection of data, governments and corporations are increasingly able to influence behaviors and decisions. The line between protecting society and excessive surveillance becomes increasingly thin. This duality creates an ethical dilemma that challenges democratic principles and civil liberties. The idea that someone is always watching can inhibit freedom of expression and the ability to act freely. Moreover, the use of algorithms to predict behaviors and identify patterns of human activity raises questions about privacy. People become data in a system, and their lives are monitored and analyzed in real time. This scenario of constant surveillance can create an atmosphere of fear, where conformity is the norm and resistance becomes risky. Technology, which could serve for good, runs the risk of being used as a tool of oppression. This reality is exacerbated by the rise of biometric surveillance, which is not limited to facial recognition but also to the analysis of emotions and behaviors. Imagine a world where your reactions are monitored and evaluated by machines. This monitoring could be used by authorities to justify actions that would otherwise be seen as invasive. This kind of control can have a profound impact on individual freedom and personal autonomy. Thus, it is essential that society is aware of these risks and seeks ways to protect its freedoms. Awareness is the first step in ensuring that technology is used ethically and responsibly. The discussion on how to balance security and freedom should be a central topic in political and social agendas. After all, true security must come from the protection of individual rights, not constant surveillance. The rise of biometric surveillance. Biometric surveillance is emerging as a palpable reality in modern society. This technology, which includes facial recognition, fingerprint analysis, and even emotion reading, is being implemented in various areas, from public security to entertainment. What seems to be a fascinating innovation also raises serious concerns about privacy and control. As this surveillance becomes more common, the question of who controls this data and how it is used becomes more urgent. This rise in biometric surveillance is often justified in the name of security. However, as government and private institutions adopt these technologies, the potential for abuse of power becomes evident. Constant monitoring can lead to a state of permanent alert, where individuals feel watched at every step. The sense of freedom that many consider an inalienable right may be compromised, creating an environment where conformity is the only viable option. Moreover, the implementation of technologies that monitor emotions and behaviors can have profound ethical implications. What happens when human feelings are quantified and used to make decisions about employment, credit, or even legal actions? This possibility is alarming, as it can result in a system that dehumanizes interactions and turns individuality into a series of data to be analyzed. The impact of this on society can be devastating. Furthermore, biometric surveillance can also serve as a tool for social control. In authoritarian regimes, for example, technology can be used to silence dissent and monitor opposition. The fear of what might happen if one expresses oneself freely can inhibit civic participation and freedom of expression. The line between security and oppression is thin, and biometric surveillance can easily cross it. It is essential that citizens remain informed and engaged in this debate. Awareness of how these technologies work and their consequences is crucial to building a society that values both security and freedom. The future of biometric surveillance will depend on the decisions we make now, and it is crucial that the voices of the population are heard in this dialogue. The role of artificial intelligence in manipulating reality. Artificial intelligence, AI, is transforming the way we perceive reality. With the ability to create deep fakes and manipulate information, AI can be a powerful tool in the wrong hands. What was once reserved for the world of science fiction has now become a real concern, the possibility of deceiving the population on a large scale. This raises crucial questions about truth and trust in the information we consume daily. The manipulation of reality through AI is not limited to creating fake videos. Social networks and other digital media are fueled by algorithms that can distort public perception. These algorithms determine what information is presented, influencing how people think and act. The ability to shape public opinion is significant power, and the ethics surrounding its use must be widely discussed. One of the biggest risks associated with using AI for manipulation is misinformation. In a world where truth can be easily distorted, the ability to discern what is real and what is fabricated becomes a monumental challenge. This can create social and political divisions as different groups cling to conflicting versions of reality. Trust in institutions and the media can collapse, leading to a chaotic and polarized environment. Moreover, using AI to manipulate the perception of reality can have serious implications in times of crisis. During significant events, such as elections or natural disasters, the ability to influence the narrative can impact the population's response. Manipulating information can result in panic, confusion, or even violence. Therefore, responsibility regarding the use of this technology cannot be underestimated. Society needs to develop critical thinking regarding the consumption of information. Education on how to identify reliable sources and distinguish between facts and manipulations is vital. As technology advances, the ability to discern the truth will become an essential skill for active citizenship. The future will depend on how we address these challenges and the ability to maintain the integrity of information in an increasingly digitized world. The Antichrist and global control. When speaking of the Antichrist, many imagine a monolithic and feared figure, but his rise may be more subtle than one thinks. The scriptures speak of a charismatic leader who, in times of crisis, presents himself as the answer to all problems. This character may take advantage of the fear and uncertainty that permeate society, offering security and solutions that, at first glance, seem beneficial. However, it is crucial that believers remain aware of what is truly at stake. Modern technologies, such as mass surveillance and artificial intelligence, can provide the Antichrist with the tools necessary to establish unprecedented control. Imagine a scenario where the population, thirsty for stability, gladly accepts constant oversight in exchange for security. It is a dilemma many currently face. To what extent are they willing to give up their freedoms in the name of protection? This is a reflection that can resonate deeply in turbulent times. Furthermore, the Antichrist may use information manipulation to create a narrative that favors him. With the ability to shape public perception through social media and other platforms, he can present himself as a savior while hiding his true intentions. Control of information is a powerful weapon, and those who wield it can easily influence the masses, leading them to accept drastic measures without question. The scriptures also warn about the idolatry that may arise around this leader. The worship of a human being, who positions himself as an intermediary between the divine and humanity, is a real risk. History is full of examples of leaders who proclaimed themselves saviors. The ability to captivate and manipulate hearts and minds is a characteristic that the Antichrist may exploit to establish worldwide domination. Constant surveillance and social control can create an environment where dissent is silenced. Freedom of expression and the right to free will are threatened when people become mere numbers in a system. It is in this scenario that faith and spiritual discernment become crucial. Believers need to stay alert and prepared to resist the temptation to surrender to a system that promises security in exchange for freedom. Relationship between the World Economic Forum and the Antichrist. The World Economic Forum is often cited as one of the institutions shaping the global agenda. Some theorists suggest that its discussions and decisions may align with preparing the ground for the coming of the Antichrist. The idea is that, amid global crises, such as pandemics and climate change, decisions made at such meetings could facilitate the implementation of policies that favor centralized control. These theories are not just speculations. Many see a pattern in the forum's proposals that emphasize global governance. The interconnection between nations, promoted through agreements and treaties, can be seen as a step toward a system that could facilitate the rise of the Antichrist. When countries unite under one banner, individual freedoms are often sacrificed in the name of a greater good. Furthermore, the narrative of a new normal that emerged after global events like the COVID-19 pandemic is interpreted by some as laying the groundwork for stricter control. The notion that society must adapt to new rules and norms could be a harbinger of authoritarianism. The idea that security must prevail over freedom is a message that can be manipulated by those seeking to consolidate power. Global organizations like the Forum also promote the idea of a sustainable and equitable future, but the line between progress and control can be thin. Implementing surveillance and tracking technologies, initially seen as security measures, can turn into an oppressive system under the guise of protection. The motivations behind these initiatives must be carefully examined. The relationship between the World Economic Forum and the Antichrist is a topic that provokes heated debates. While some see a real threat, others consider these concerns to be unfounded conspiracy theories. However, it is undeniable that the discussion about the future of global governance and its ethical implications must be taken seriously, especially in light of prophecies warning of difficult times. Challenges to individual freedom. The modern era brings with it an intriguing paradox, the promise of security in exchange for freedom. With the advancement of control technologies, such as mass surveillance and data analysis, civil liberties are under constant threat. Many people, in search of protection and stability, end up accepting measures that limit their rights in the name of a greater good. This dilemma is particularly relevant in a world that seems increasingly chaotic. The tension between security and freedom is palpable. As governments and corporations adopt technologies that monitor behaviors and communications, legitimate concerns arise about how far this surveillance can go. The concept of privacy, once a fundamental pillar of democratic societies, is now being challenged by a discourse that prioritizes security. People need to reflect on what they are willing to sacrifice in the name of this protection. Moreover, the challenges to individual freedom intensify when considering the role of social media in shaping public opinion. Information manipulation and the censorship of dissenting voices can create an environment where freedom of expression is limited. It is a scenario that facilitates the rise of extreme ideologies and the suppression of any form of resistance. History teaches us that the erosion of civil liberties often precedes periods of authoritarianism. The impact of control technologies is not only political, it also affects people's daily lives. The feeling of always being watched can lead to self-censorship, where individuals hesitate to express their true opinions or act according to their beliefs. This state of constant surveillance can create a conformist society where creativity and innovation take a back seat. Ultimately, the challenges to individual freedom require deep reflection on the future we want to build. Society must find a balance between security and freedom, ensuring that protection measures do not become instruments of oppression. Spiritual vigilance and the search for truth are essential so that individuals do not get carried away by deceptive narratives that promise security at the cost of their freedoms. The need for spiritual vigilance. In a world full of uncertainties, spiritual vigilance becomes an urgent necessity for believers. Confusion and misinformation are everywhere, and discerning truth from lies is a challenging task. The Bible constantly warns us about the deceptions that may arise in the last days, and being spiritually alert is essential to avoid being led astray by destructive currents. Spiritual vigilance involves a continuous commitment to prayer and the study of the Scriptures. These are the foundations that strengthen faith and provide clarity amid chaos. By immersing oneself in God's Word, believers can develop a deeper understanding of the prophecies and signs of the times. This spiritual preparation empowers them to face the challenges ahead, standing firm in their convictions. Furthermore, it is vital that believers come together in community, sharing experiences and strengthening each other in faith. Fellowship among brethren is a powerful antidote to loneliness and doubt. When people unite in prayer and worship, they create an environment where truth can thrive, and the world's lies are exposed. Spiritual vigilance, therefore, is not just an individual effort but a collective call. Another dimension of spiritual vigilance is the need for discernment regarding external influences. The voices of the world can be seductive, promising easy solutions and comfort in difficult times. However, it is essential that believers maintain a critical spirit and question what presents itself as truth. The ability to distinguish between what is true and what is deceptive is a mark of spiritual maturity. Spiritual vigilance is not an easy task, but it is a responsibility that all believers must assume. As times become more challenging, the need to stay alert and vigilant becomes even more urgent. Strengthening faith and seeking the truth are essential for believers to remain steadfast, regardless of the storms that may arise. Hope and faith in times of crisis. Amid crises and uncertainties, hope and faith become anchors for believers. The promise of the coming of Jesus Christ is a light that shines in the darkness, offering comfort and motivation to continue. No matter how challenging the circumstances, this hope is a reminder that there is something greater at stake, something that transcends immediate reality. The expectation of Christ's return is not just a belief but a source of strength that drives believers to persevere. In times of anguish, His promise gives meaning to suffering and points to a future where justice and peace will reign. Faith becomes an invincible force when sustained by the certainty that Christ is preparing a place for His faithful ones. And so, as we look at the world around us, we are invited to reflect on the urgency of the time we live in. The evidence is everywhere, and the Word of God calls us to vigilance. How do you react to all this? Do you feel prepared to face the challenges that are coming? Or has the distraction of daily life pulled you away from the truth? Remember, your relationship with Christ is what truly matters. Now is the time to deepen your faith, to seek God with sincerity. Have you stopped to pray for those who do not yet know the truth? The souls around us are in danger, and each of us has a crucial role in this great plan. As the world stirs and the signs intensify, keep your heart firm in the hope that Jesus gives us. He is coming back to establish His kingdom, and you are part of that promise. So, I invite you not only to listen but to act. How can you prepare and help others on this journey? Time is precious, and the time to act is now. Share your thoughts in the comments, and together let's seek the truth and the light of Christ amid the darkness.